Okay, so we're finally here at Chatbots. Um, we're going to start by looking at an example, and it's an example from Cortana. By now, you should be under no illusions that chatbots are sentient things. If you are under the impression that chatbots can come up with their own responses, where have you been for the last 50 minutes? There's lots of fun things that are different assistants, be they Alexa, a Cortana, or Siri, will respond to us about. People will often find one of these and tell everyone, you need to ask your assistant for this, and see what they come up with. So here's a fun one I recorded. Hey Cortana, open the pod bay doors, please.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
It's a lot of fun, isn't it? But that, like I say, that isn't something that the assistant, as clever as these assistants are, and there's a lot of parallel between these assistants and chatbots. That's basically an Easter egg. That's something that's been pre-programmed, and it's there ready to respond with. Let's think about how chatbots actually work. Let's think. There's a little demo to do that called Choose Your Response. Okay, we've got three possible categories of communications that our chatbot can respond to. First of all, hi there, g'day, guten tag, or bonjour. Secondly, can you assist me? I'm confused. What do I do? Thirdly, goodbye, later, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir. If I was to come along and say hello, which of these three items would hello best match to? Now, for a human being, this is easy peasy, yeah? Hello belongs with hi there, g'day, guten tag, or bonjour. For a computer, that's incredibly difficult, because whilst hello is basically, if you looked it up in a thesaurus, it's a word that means a similar thing to hi there, g'day, guten tag, bonjour. They are all greetings. Yeah, hello is a kind of greetings. All those are kinds of greetings. Yeah. We know, because hello is used interchangeably with all these things, that it belongs over there. For a computer, classical computers are used to dealing with things literally. Yeah, and unless literally hello is there, it doesn't know to respond as if that was hi there. So behind the scenes in chatbots, there is, of course, machine learning. Machine learning where it says these words mean similar things to these other words. Now, we've already encountered an AI that performs that kind of action. And it was, of course, the classification AI. And, of course, chatbots are an example of classification AI. They're basically performing pattern matching. So, for an example, on one of the chatbots I've built, because I've built several using a tool called ChatFuel, which we'll look at in a minute, I'll ask things like, what are your policies? And what I've done is I've told the chatbot, if someone asks, what are your values? What is the Green Party all about? Because this was a mock-up for the Green Party. What are Green Party values? What are Green Party values? What are your policies, new laws? Yeah. You notice none of these says politics. Yeah. But the engine behind the chatbot knows that politics is similar to policies and party values and green parties, and some of this is so it matches this, even though politics is not there. It's close enough to some things that are there that it says it's a good likelihood that that's the response that you're looking for. And so when that does match, it comes up with this response. What are the core values of the Green Party? You'll not be surprised to learn a big part of this is to look after our planet and our environment. It's about not cutting corners today, which future generations will curse us for. So a chatbot, basically, as I say, it's a classification type artificial narrow intelligence. And the classifications is it's trying to classify things it's being asked to pre-prepared content. You might ask to that, well, where's the value? Especially when you consider that human beings are so incredibly flexible. Why would we want to cut them out? Well, unfortunately, if you've ever been on the phone line, you only have so many call centre staff, and they can only deal with people one at a time. If there's anything that can be automated, it makes sense to automate it. One of the applications I've worked on in the last few years that has had the most customer satisfaction is introduce a way that customers that their end users can, instead of calling the help desk after they've forgotten their password, they can just reset the password themselves. Being able to take away very mundane tasks from the call center means that you free up bandwidth on the call center to deal with people who've got difficult and tricky problems. A great way to get value out of your AI chatbot is to program it with frequently asked questions and the different ways that people might ask the same question. I've often gone through frequently asked questions and go, I don't quite see it like that. I don't quite see that. I know what my question is, but does it align to how they've put the questions? And often no. So I end up ringing someone and says, no. The answer that you're looking for is this one. The advantage of a chatbot is obviously it can respond immediately. And as we've said, it can keep people off your phone lines. So let's have a look now at an example, ChatFuel. Okay, so here we are then with ChatFuel, and this is a tool that I've mainly used to create chatbots. What we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the Green Party bot, which is probably the most advanced thing I've put together. Now, here's an important element for any chatbot through trial and error. The welcome message. Excuse me. A chatbot doesn't have instructions. The closest it has to instructions is the welcome message, telling the person connecting to it what this chatbot's about. And if you have the right content, and I've got a few buttons up here underneath, it also tells you should give them a few options of things that they're most likely to want to speak about. Now this welcome message is a bit longer than I'd really like. For instance, I have to include I'm a technology demonstrator and not officially endorsed by the Green Party. I think I've also got, you might notice some of my answers are a little out of date. These are just to cover things. I put this together in April 2012 to try and encourage my local Green Party to come up with better ways of interacting with people. If I hit on test this chatbot, you can see how it looks when it behaves. You will hear a bing bong in a minute of my Facebook Messenger clicking on. Here we go. Kia ora, my name is Tane. I'm a chatbot designed to talk to you about the party policy of the Green Party of New Zealand. I'm a technology demonstrator and not officially endorsed by the Green Party. Now, to build this, I went through their website and I collected material that they had throughout the website and tried to collect it into logical areas and indeed their key policies. So here, for instance, you've got a scrolling. Some scrollable items. Not surprisingly, empowering New Zealand, trying to do more green energy, trying to do smarter manufacturing, cleaner, safer freight, using freight trains to move things over lorries, trying to get more New Zealanders into homes over into cars, because it's trying to increase home ownership, and build a smarter economy. Now this item here, the default answer, is really important. Anytime you provide something and you don't have a matchup, you get the default answer kicks in. So a good default answer is really simple, yeah, but also gives some indication of, try rephrasing things. So if I go in here and I just go, it'll come back with, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you've asked. Now compare this. Let's just see if I can just go. The first attempt that I had was the test sheet bot. And with this one, I thought I'd come up with something that was fun, so that if it didn't know what your answer was, it would go, as Father Jack would say, that would be an ecumenical answer. This is my generic answer when I'm confused. If I just test this bot over here. Again, you can see, hi, I'm the chatbot of Test Sheep NZ, here with the testing queries, and there's buttons for the most obvious things. If I put in something a bit random that shouldn't match up to anything, it comes up with a rather lengthy response, which is fun once, but when it comes up more than once, which for a default answer will pretty much come up again and again. Yeah, that's not particularly helpful. So I learned by making the mistake, which is good. Now on the test sheet bot, the first time I put it together and I put it there, there's lots of material here about testing, not surprisingly. For the Green Party bot, it's a little bit more organised, and these are, you can see here, are all the policies, because mainly people that would contact, want to talk to a Green Party bot would want to talk about the policies of the Green Party, pretty obviously. And let's go into an example. We're looking to set up AI. Yay. Like we were talking before about classification AIs, here there's all these things which are, if you get asked anything that's like this, then do this. This is how you respond. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find, for instance, something on leadership. A common question would be, what's who's in charge, who's your leaders, and the Green Party has is a bit unusual because it doesn't have one leader, it has two leaders, co-leaders, male and female. And rather than have something for each individual leader, I just have a general response up here. It's called a block. if I find the leaders section, it tells me the Green Party has two co-leaders, Metria Toure and James Shaw. Find out more about them here, and then again you choose which of the ones you want to speak about or find out about. Those leaders have changed a little bit. It's Metria Toure. Sorry. Find the right bot, and if I enter that, it should. Oh, that's just typical, isn't it? That gives me a good thing. So if I asked about leaders, exactly. Green Party's got two leaders, Metria Toure and James Shaw. Find out more about them here. Ba-bam. And you saw that Materia, when I answered it like that, didn't go through. That's not great. One of the things you can do is when you run a chatbot is to keep tabs of this, and you can often I've gone through people's transcripts and go, but there's material there. It's not quite gone through. It's not quite matched up. Well, we can fix this. So if I search on leaders. Yeah, so what I can do is add an extra rule here for Materia, which seems a bit of a shame because she's no longer the leader, and James Shaw, who is cool. If I go back there and I try this again, but brilliant, that now works. And you can make all these kind of tweaks, basically adding as you go more and more things that should push you to the leaders. What I'm going to do is just clear that now. So obviously you build together chatbot. You've got your hello, you've got your default answer. You have your policies. This is my content. This is the reason that I'm not just creating a chatbot for the sake of it. Well, actually, I have been creating a chatbot for the sake of it. But the main purpose of this chatbot is to enable people to search through and engage with the policy of the Green Party. Pretty obvious. But people also like to socially interact with a chatbot. They're a bit of a curiosity, and people like to talk to them as if they're real. So this is something I found quite early on. I gave my first chatbot to my friend, a few of my friends to have a go at. They had a go, and they would ask it, "What do you like to eat?" And we found out, in general, and through getting people, there were a few trends that people would go through. One of which was, what's your love life? What do you want to eat? What do you want to drink? What do you think of this? What do you think of this film? I can't remember if I've actually. It's been over a year. I know if I ask, what do you like to drink? It'll come up with a suitable green policy response, but in a semi-human way. So what's my favourite drink? You can't beat pure clean water. We're lucky to live in a country where water is abundant, but alas, the label Pure New Zealand is often a misnomer. There is so much that we need to do to prevent pollution of this precious resource. Find out more about it here. And it goes to their clear groundwater bill. Likewise, if you ask about eating, food, glorious food. Food is, of course, important, not just that all New Zealanders can afford to eat, but making sure the food in their kitchen is healthy. And it goes on about some of the food policies of the Greens as well. Compare that with Test Sheet, which is obviously my personal chatbot. I might have to trigger it here. Let's trigger it. Boom. Completely different personality of this bot, as you can imagine, because I wrote this to be a bit more fun. If I ask this one about food, I do enjoy some Soylent Green, a suitably science fiction and dystopian. The personality for the test sheet, I created a slightly dystopian megalomaniac computer personality, and it tends to respond with things like this, like that. So if I ask about Trump, do you know that scene in Planet of the Apes, you blew it up, maniacs? I tell you, it just keeps getting funnier. Unlike you, I welcome our future ape masters. However, if we go to the Green Party, triggered from here, I got messages all over the place. It doesn't exactly switch particularly well, but then it's very rare that I would need to move from one chatbot to another like this. It should come up with a slightly more tactful response. Trump, yeah, that guy. I don't really have the time for all the reasons we have different ideology to him. I named the Green Party chatbot Tane, and he's got some humour, but it's a little bit more restrained. More a sense of wit in his responses, not outright rudeness, basically, because he's not there to be rude, and because anything he does could be seen to be the Green Party don't believe that. Extra things that I did add. I included items about help. Always good to have a help option. Remember, this thing does not come with instructions, yeah? So I'm a chatbot. Try asking me a question about politics and I'll try and answer it as best I can. If my answers aren't appropriate and you'd like to question a human being, ask me, Tane, I need to speak to a human. You can take that word for word. If you're basically finding it frustrating to there, it will say, okay, you can speak to a human by following the button below to take you to the Green Party contact page. I'm sorry I wasn't able to answer your question today. Finally, it's just worth pointing out as well, I've put on both these chatbots a catch-all for swearing. And the response it gives is, I'm just a chatbot, so swear words don't bother me, sorry. But it's not an impressive use of your time. Slightly sarcastic. As you can imagine, in this that works out what words trigger it, there is somewhere a whole list of nasty swear words that if it recognises, it'll come up with that response. It's worth actually just spending a bit of time here. So you can see there's lots and lots and lots of these rules. And each one is looking for items to link to a thing. So we've got here health, hospitals, doctors, disease, injury, ACC, obesity, alcoholism, mental health, treatment, tobacco, cancer, heart attack, illness, surgery, nurses, and all these will respond with a response about health. Yeah. There is items here on homes, homelessness, sleeping in garages, and this all talks about how there's a big drive to build more houses and get more people into homes. But you can see I'm trying to channel a lot of items, a lot of possible ways that the same thing could be asked for to link to a single item. And as you've also seen with the materia thing, occasionally there's something really obvious that I've missed, and you'll come back in and you'll edit it. And it's part of the reason why it's really important to get other people to use the system, because people will use the chatbot in slightly different ways. And you monitor that and you find things that you've missed, and you know there's content for there, but that way of asking didn't trigger it, so you add more rules, and hopefully you build enough rules to make for a positive experience. But it's one of the reasons I really like, for instance, the option we saw it on the test sheet, including buttons to what you think they want. And within this, you've also got these sliding doors, these sliding tiles, so you can slide through until you find something, saying, I think it's one of these that you're interested in. And the user interface is a bit more intuitive than the user having to ask specifically for things. So that's the inside of a chatbot. So pretty much as we said, here's the major design considerations for chatbots. And because the major design considerations are also things you should consider when actually testing a chatbot. First of all, the greetings, how it welcomes you. Does that actually help you to understand what the content is that the chatbot can help you with? The default response, likewise, you want it simple, but you also want it maybe a seed in there of how you can get help. Now, the content obviously depends on the chatbot. It's the material that you're trying to convey to the person using it, and thinking about how to order that. Like we find, for instance, it's much easier to have broad responses. You could remember when we looked at the health section, there's all types of different health issues there, but they link to a single response which is about health. And within that response, there's a few things that the user can look through, say, okay, no, this is the item about health I'm really interested in. Chatbots, they mimic us. They aren't intelligent, but they mimic human behavior. That's how we can engage with them in language. So it's important, at the minute it's important that they feel social, and that they behave in social ways. So you can ask them, how are you, what do you like to eat, what do you like for television. At the minute they're a novelty, and those kind of things make people want to come back and give it a sense of fun to interacting with a chatbot, rather than if you get the default response too many times, it feels a little bit tiresome. And finally, as we showed, it's really important to have help, some kind of help clause, or maybe a few. Like we said, there's one thing for help that gives you an outline of how to think about using the system. There's also one for, if this isn't working for you, just say this and I will lead you to contact a human being. Chatbots aren't perfect, and they're not for everyone, and they won't respond well for every user. And probably the nightmare with chatbots would be if we were trapped in a loop with using the chatbots and we can never break through to talking to a human being. I get that sometimes with Facebook when I need to raise an issue with things, and that the frequently asked questions block you from ever speaking to an actual human being. And that's incredibly frustrating. These should be a shield to kind of get a quick response for a customer, but not a replacement ever for actually having a human being that can respond.
Behold my creation.
I am the Agile Office chatbot. How can I help?
It's a chatbot that actually looks like a bot.
That should confuse Obi-Wan less. Finally, the droid he's been looking for.
It's to allow us to respond to our customers better. Our current system leaves a little bit to be desired.
pick up the damn phone, Joe.
I just need you to test it now. Here's my note on its responses.
Okay, it's working really well, and to spec so far. What are your opening times?
We are open weekdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. New Zealand time.
What's your favourite food, Chatbot?
Error, does not compute, does not compute, does not compute.
Maybe I should go off script in my testing a bit.
Of course, there's quite a serious point to that video. As testers working on a project, we're quite aware of what the content of a chatbot is. And it's quite easy to end up getting a little bit of a script or at least a list of things to tick off because we know they're there. That's great for us, but the eventual users won't know everything that's there. Sometimes it's nice to have things that are Easter eggs that they can discover, but if there's content there, it's important that's content there that's needed to be accessed. It's important that people can find it in an intuitive way. And really the only way to test that properly is once you've got something that feels like it's working, just try and crowdsource the testing, get other people to come in relatively blind to the system with an overview. Well, hopefully your hello message should give you an overview of what the chatbot's about and see how they respond to things. One of the key things is often these blind users will ask for things in different ways to the way that's been programmed, or that you can envision. We'll talk a lot about there's a hello protocol, and we'll ask good morning. Somebody will come along and ask, give a greeting that's a different greeting, that's something that you've not thought about and which the system isn't picking up as a greeting itself, and that will completely throw everything. And that's obviously not good. But then again, you've seen from my demonstration how easy it is to rectify that. You just monitor it and you improve your product. But yeah, getting people it's like any kind of system really. It's useful for someone that knows about the product to test it, but then there's a real value to get somebody who isn't as immersed in the system to see how they use it and what they ask for and what they expect to be there, and see if that matches what you've built. Sometimes it doesn't, but as you see, it's a relatively simple thing to add more content. So here we are at the conclusion. So in this presentation, we've talked about, and hopefully you know more about what machine learning really is. And you should be quite comfortable about that. How you've seen enough examples and inside to understand how machine learning works. If you're really interested, I'd advise you to go away and learn more about the algorithms, and there's a bit more on that in the next slide. But hopefully we've peered behind the curtain and we've critically examined the mystique. We know what these things are now. We know what they do quite well. We know how they can do things a little bit badly. And hopefully you've got more realistic expectations. You know how they're data driven. In fact, data is the key thing. If you look at our examples that we've done in Python, so much more of that system is handling all the data items that we need to include, including obviously when we uploaded things from a file. We've looked at the pitfalls of course of machine learning and how we can get trapped within the curses of dimensionality and overtraining, and also a little bit of how we counteract that, particularly in the case of overtraining. We test. we've looked at the difference between a useful machine learning system and a useless machine learning system. We saw a little bit of that with the real estate examples and how different algorithms could be good or couldn't be. All of those algorithms built, so they all look good from the outset until we actually tried to test them. And of course, the difference between a useful and a useless machine learning system is simply that you do analysis and testing and you go, this one is better. We found that the KNN approach to the real estate worked best, and we could see that because it worked better for the Ponsonby case, and it seemed to work better for other places that we'd done things. Of course, to know for sure, we should really be doing many more tests, but for the example, that was good enough. We've looked at how machine learning components typically connect to traditional software elements. So, yeah, machine learning is if you build a really good piece of machine learning, it's a black box inside something. So when we looked at the calculator for the toy truck and we threw it your typical too large and too small components, it came up with, well, particularly in the negative distance, it came with nonsense values back. There's no such thing as negative time. And that would need to be handled in probably a layer above the machine learning. So just because you have an intelligent part, doesn't mean that your whole system is intelligent. It's just it gets how it's reaching its decisions is using machine learning. You have a machine learning component within a website. We haven't really done that much. Yes, we have actually. When we looked at the Google interfaces, they have a machine learning element, but it's within a traditional web page. So there's still elements on that web page that would need to be tested if that was our product. As I've pointed out, these traditional elements need to be tested like they were a traditional system. It's just how you test that machine learning component is slightly different. I'm really hoping at the end of this video that what I've done now is really whetted your appetite about machine learning. It feels like something you understand a little bit more and you want to find out more about. This isn't a substitute for deeper courses or books. This is really about that, machine learning 101. In preparing material for this, I've read through a few textbooks from the 1990s and some much new material where I could get. But there are 3 sources that I have found really useful and free for preparing it. One of which is the Udacity Introduction to Machine Learning course. This course I find is really good at hands-on. It encourages you to do exercises in Python, which is similar to the ones that we've looked at today. I've created my own though, of course, and it's all very driven about. Let's not just talk about how machine learning works. Let's try this. Let's try something out. And they introduced the sklearn library and encourage you to do lots of exercises on that. But you do need to learn a little bit of Python to get the best out of that. Another course I really enjoyed was the Udacity Machine Learning course. So it's just the machine learning course. This item looks in a lot more detail at the algorithms that we've really just skipped over. It's heavily, whereas the introduction is very hands-on, let's build a machine learning system and let's see how it works. This machine learning course is much more looking at the mathematics and how the mathematics works, and it's a lot more, I find, theoretical to the first course, and yet as someone who has done a high degree of university maths, I find it quite interesting. Hopefully, you'd find it interesting as well. But that's why they are in this order. That I would encourage you to have a go at the Intro to Machine Learning course first, and if you ace that, this next course could be for you. Finally, the University of Helsinki has got an Elements of AI online course, and this is not really as in detail as the other two courses, and I should probably have put this one first. And it's not. This is text-based, whereas the other two are video-based courses. But all the same, it's the University of Helsinki has produced this. It's a great course. It introduces you to a lot of concepts, and they've made it free for the whole world to kind of put together. And that brings us to the end. I hope you've really enjoyed this video, and I hope it's given you an interest in machine learning, and most of all, I hope it's stripped away some of the mystique. On social media, particularly when something becomes a hashtag phenomenon, you can often get this fear of missing out and what's going on, and you read articles about machine learning and AI, and it sounds like magic, and it sounds like it can do anything, and that is far from the case. But then again, these things can be incredibly useful. If you look back at Tycho Brahe and his problem about analysing his data results, and the world had to wait till almost 12 years after the guy died to find out what he'd discovered. We live in a different age where we want to be able to analyse and find trends in data that can be useful much faster. We don't have the patience of astronomers that sit around recording data for 20 odd years and then analysing it for 11. We want those answers now, and certainly machine learning is a tool that allows us to do that. Although, again, as we've talked about, the danger is that we don't know what's actually going on in there. A bit like the salary calculator. Sometimes what's going on in there needs much closer scrutiny. So I'm Mike Talks, aka Test Sheet New Zealand. If you've really enjoyed this and you found me a fun and funny guy, connect up with me on Twitter. Drop me a line, say you've really enjoyed this. But most of all, talk to me and I'll talk to you back. Twitter is a great forum for engaging with other people, and I'm there to engage with other people. I'd be interested in your opinions, things that you think we should try more of, or even that you want to have a go with some of the machine learning elements that we've got, which are available on GitHub to download. Let's see what we can do. Until next time, catch you later.